Hi guys, this is Sarah from Just Another Story, and as you can see from above, I'm going to be reviewing a book by Amanda Grace called But I Love Him. This is my first video review, so I'm just giving it a try, so bear with me and have patience as I do this little experiment. I was gonna just write a review on this, but as I was trying to write it, I was having some difficulties because there were quite a few things that I had issue with in terms of this novel, and because of the subject matter and what it's about, I felt like I didn't want to be insensitive and I didn't want to offend anyone, so I thought I would just talk with you a little bit about it. And I'm sorry for the light if it's awful. It's getting a little bit dark out now, and I don't want to turn my overlight on because it's bright and gross, so sorry! But I Love Him is about a 18-year-old girl named Anne, and her year with her boyfriend Connor, who is abusive towards her. The story begins at their 1-year mark, so they've been together for a year, and it begins with Anne lying on the floor. Basically what it says is that the first line of this book is, "I lie in pieces on the floor." So, yeah, so after their 1 year, Connor I guess beats Anne quite badly and just leaves her there on the floor. So it starts at the year, and the story continues and progresses backwards. So Amanda Grace writes the story backwards. So after the 1 year, it goes to like 11 months and 20-something days. And she continues to write the story that way. So you kind of see the progression of Connor and Anne's relationships backwards. She does return to the 1 year mark, like periodically throughout the story, just to kind of show you where Anne is and how she's feeling about this really awful situation with Connor, and where she is lying in his apartment on the floor and just trying to decide what to do next and what she's going to do next. And yeah, I didn't like the story very much. I've read a few novels on teenage dating and abusive relationships, and this is the one that I think I've liked the least, and that's partially because of the way she chose to write it backwards. I didn't like that. I didn't feel like I got a good sense of the characters. I didn't get a good sense of who Anne was and how she was feeling in her relationship. All I got was she really loved Connor and she needed to be with Connor. I understand that in abusive relationships that they just really love who they're with, but I never got a sense of why she stayed with him. Like that, normally that she needed to be with him, that she was the only one who could be with him to save him. Amanda Grace wrote about that, but it wasn't believable. It's more like she just talked about it and then it was there, so it must be true. That didn't necessarily work for me. The whole backwards thing, like seeing the relationship backwards, was confusing. At the end of the book, she does talk about why she chose to write it this way, but I haven't read that, so I should probably read that before I decide why I didn't like it. But initially, I didn't like that at all. I found that there were a lot of plot holes in this story, specifically with Anne and her relationship with other people. There are 3 specific people. This guy Blake, who was on her track team, her best friend, which I think is Kayla, but I don't know, I can't remember her name, and her mom. Those are the 3 relationships that you kind of see Anne having outside of her relationship with Connor. And the relationship with Blake is not, like, it's pretty inconsequential. You don't really need to know much about it. But there's her relationship with her best friend and how that deteriorates. And you see that a little bit, like minimally, but not a whole lot. Like, those relationships you didn't, like, why they fell apart, you didn't really see. And I know what happens when you're in an abusive relationship with someone, that you, all of a sudden, everyone else around you becomes unimportant, and that happened, but you didn't see why or how, or like that wasn't really displayed well in the novel. Also, her relationship with her mother, there was a little sub-story about Anne's father dying 8 years before and how that really destroyed her mother. and therefore the relationship that her and her mother had with each other. But it felt so trivial and like not important, but important at the same time. Like she either had to leave it out or like build it up more in order for it to be important and have context in the story. But it just felt really like it was just there and not like, it was more like, well, why is that here? Like, why is that important? So I felt like that wasn't built upon really well, and therefore it took away from the story and like what could happen. And I think the reason why this book really didn't sit well with me is that I have read, as I said before, I have read a few stories on abusive relationships, and I felt like they were done well. Like they were done well to educate girls on what to look for, or this is what happens in an abusive relationship, so see the signs. And I think that's why these stories need to be written, so that other girls know if they are in an abusive relationship, that they kind of have this idea of what could look for the signs or see the signs or just know what's going on with them. And this book left so much out that if someone reads this and are in that situation, they're just gonna, it's not gonna help them. And I think that's why these books, like I said, these books need to be written to help people, and not just to be fiction. Like young adult novels that are dealing with this topic can not just be about fiction and about being a good story. They actually have to, yeah, they have to help teenagers. Like that's just, it's too much just to be fiction and to be a good story. So that's where I had issues with this novel. There are a few that I'm going to mention, or one that I'm going to mention that is amazing, which is Dreamland by Sarah Dessen. One of the best novels that I've ever read on this topic. It's the first one that I've read, but it just sat so, it just made sense to me, and it was just, read that book and you'll know why I didn't like this one. Also Stay by Deb Caletti, although that one I didn't like a lot for other reasons. The bit about the abusive relationship and the protagonist, the female protagonist role and how she felt, I think Caletti did a good job with that. On the flip side, from the perspective of the man, or the guy, is Breathing Underwater by Alex Flynn, which is, she did a good job there if you're seeing why he's deciding to abuse his girlfriend and what happens after. It is after, like after they break up, and how he's feeling about it, and how he goes through with it, deals with it, and like heals from it. And so yeah, I think that one was really good as well. So give those a try. Thank you for watching my first video review. I hope this made sense. But yeah, that is But I Love Him by Amanda Grace. So thanks guys, and I'll talk to all of you soon. Bye.